And we're back. Monday. I'm not doing it.
Low energy. Wow.
Doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not stealing Christian's valor. My name is JD Raider. I am your host today of FRL, not Christian Piles. He's somewhere on the East Coast in Virginia, but I'm joined by a wonderful cast of characters today. To my left, David Bray, Tyler Meissner, and John Kozak.
What's my name?
Tyler Meissner.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
How we doing today, boys?
We're good. We're gonna get the energy up. I mean, Ben's not here to call you out, so we gotta make sure we got the energy today. So
I'm bringing the energy. I'm just not doing it.
Okay.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, man, what a weekend! Ranking series is in the books. Pretty cool.
Yeah, unreal. The only Olympian we sent was Mason Parris. He won it, so that's awesome. One of the questions we actually got asked by a viewer was, how is it determined who USA sends to ranking series tournaments? Why did we send non-Olympians? And I actually wanted to just lead the show with that. Ask you guys, why don't we send all our Olympians to ranking series tournaments?
I think probably Kozak and JD know a little better than me, but basically every country can send 3 people per weight. And if the Olympian says, nah, I don't want to go, then there's just, I think they kind of go down the list, like who wants the spot. And for a lot of these athletes, it's it's really valuable for them to get that international experience. And then, as far as the ranking points go, I think that's probably secondary to just getting out there wrestling elite international competition. But I don't know, Kozak, JD, you guys, other insights?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with it. If you don't care about ranking series points, or you're like, hey, I can't even improve my position even if I won this, maybe not a whole lot of point in going except for just reps. So that's where it becomes very valuable for a guy like Trent Hidley, who obviously is not our Olympic rep, but still wants to get those international reps.
So Trent is Trent was our other U.S. rep that, actually I think Nashon medaled too, but Trent had the most success besides Mason. He's not an Olympian. And then he ran into the semi-truck that is Yazdani. Let's talk about Yazdani a little bit. Yeah. Let's talk about Yazdani a little bit, because this guy came off his shoulder surgery. He's a big question mark, to the point that even people were wondering if he was going to be Iran's Olympian. People were like, oh, Ghasempour, he's 92-kilogram world champ. He apparently wants the spot at 86 kilos as well. So if Yazdani's looking shaky, who knows how well he's going to recover from his shoulder surgery. Maybe Ghasempour gets a crack to try to challenge for that spot. And the kind of word on the street, Kozak, right, was that this was kind of Yazdani's test.
Yeah, from the Iranian wrestling people, they were saying, like, yeah, if he goes here, if he wins, then he'll be the Olympian. If he doesn't, if he looks a little shaky, then they'll open up, wrestle off maybe for Ghasempour. And, man, Yazdani looked as good as ever. And then in post-match interviews, I think he kind of said, like, yeah, I still got room to improve. Felt about 60%. So it's like, whoa, holy cow. He looks like, he's the favorite heading into Paris.
60%. I think he's underselling himself on purpose. I think better than 60%. But, I mean, coming out of the Olympic trials, Aaron Brooks beat David Taylor. David Taylor was number 1 pound for pound. And so in John Kozak's international rankings, or Olympic rankings, I saw Aaron Brooks 1, Yazdani 2. Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, David beat Yazdani over and over. And then Brooks beats David Taylor, so the ranking makes sense. But
Brooks, it beat him twice.
He beat him 2 times.
That's kind of, I think, for rankings purposes, that's the thing. It's like one time, you're not going to say it's a fluke, but then maybe you give Yazdani kind of the credit there. But Brooks does it twice, double down, number 1.
I expected to watch Yazdani and to think, all right, Brooks is better, or at least as good. But man, watching Yazdani was kind of scary.
Well, that was my next question. Does it scare you seeing how badly Yazdani dismantled Trent, who is a guy who's had close matches with Aaron in the past? It was kind of dominant win in the NCAA final this last year, but I feel like you go into that match, and if Trent has a close match with Yazdani, you're like, okay, Brooks can beat this guy, but he got completely worn down, couldn't stay in the hand fight with Yazdani, and does that worry you about Brooks' chances against him?
I'm a man who's not afraid to admit when he's scared, and I am scared for Aaron Brooks against Yazdani. Yeah, I mean, because, and I think in our chat, CP said something like, you need a couple cracks at Yazdani before you've got the ability to beat him and figure it out. So I am very nervous for that matchup. Brooks, if anybody can do it, Aaron Brooks can do it. The thing that gives me, I guess, a little more hope than I would normally have for somebody facing Yazdani for the first time is Yazdani scores often the same way over and over and over. And so it's not like he's a guy that has like 15 different attacks and he's, really unpredictable. So if Brooks can solve the underhook puzzle, then that's really the main thing he's got to figure out. But I don't know. Yeah, curious what you guys think.
Well, my question is, does this make you think at all that the Olympic trials finals had any more to do with David Taylor maybe taking a step back, showing a little bit of regression, Father Time catching up to him a little bit? Or do you still think this was Brooks rising up to and surpassing David Taylor's level?
It's tough to say because who knows? In David's press conference where he was named, being named as Oklahoma State's next head coach, he said that he had lost the fire, and he said that he made reference to the fact that it was apparent that he had lost his fire. It was not apparent to me that David had lost his fire until that best 2 out of 3. Was it
Yeah, because we hadn't seen him wrestle.
Yeah, fair. But even after his 2022 World Championships, he said that was where it was like, okay, he said that he thought about quitting after 2021 Worlds when he lost to Yazdani. He said he got his Olympic title. He thought about not returning to the sport. Then he won in 2022, and to me, it felt like that fire got reignited almost.
After the loss, yeah.
After he won again. After the loss, he talked about how he almost quit after the loss.
Yeah, but then you get the fire. You
got the fire again after
didn't.
2022, and then he won even more dominantly in 2023. So I was like, man, David Taylor, we were all talking like he might continue to wrestle after the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't even sure about that. So I don't know. I don't know if he was just really good at hiding the fact that he lost his fire, or I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think we're going to fully know the answer to whether or not the Olympic trials is just evidence of David losing a step until we see Brooks and Yazdani. I think that's what we have to see to be able to tell, was this just David kind of losing a step or what? But I think regardless, the matchup with Yazdani is going to be new. It's something that Brooks hasn't faced or hasn't experienced yet. And so whether he was, wrestling against 100% version of David or not, I still think the Yazdani match is a unique challenge that, is in some ways unrelated from the David Taylor series.
Yeah. And I think with the Brooks Yazdani match, and even Brooks Hidley, it's like Hidley could wrestle Yazdani for a minute. It was 2-2. He got to his underhook, got the takedown, but then it was like, man, he can't. I think I said it in our chat. It's like, he can't keep this pace. Yeah. He can't keep the pace up. And so that's what's so unique about Yazdani. And also, I think what gives me a little bit of hope with Aaron, he wrestled David as good as anybody has, and David has a pace that kind of wore down Yazdani. And so, I think if anybody in the world can beat Yazdani right now, I think it is Brooks. But I think this conversation ultimately sets up like Brooks is going to be unseeded, and we're talking about like the different sides of the bracket, and 86 is really a bracket that could be unbalanced now that the seeds are set. 86 could be one where it's like, man, Brooks either has a great path to the finals or it's a brutal one.
Yeah. Speaking of, before we move on to Olympic seeds, I think it's funny how casual American fans, the narrative is that Yazdani gasses and doesn't have a good gas tank because they only watch him wrestle David Taylor. But Yazdani gasses out every single person that he wrestles. If you haven't watched Yazdani wrestle anyone besides David Taylor, check it out because people cannot hang with this guy. So that's definitely a narrative we want to dispel. Moving into Olympic trials, or not trials, Olympics brackets and seeds. Instead of going in weight class order, let's jump right into 86 kilograms. All right, I'm going to give you some names. Hassan Yazdani, Aaron Brooks, Miles Amin, Darin Krugliev, Artur Nafanov. All of these wrestlers could be on the bottom side of the 86 kilogram Olympic bracket. Kozak, how did this happen? Or how could this happen?
Yeah, so if you don't know how Olympic seeds are determined. It's just rankings points that are accumulated through world championships, continentals, and ranking series events. So it's not true seeds like head-to-head results. It's rankings points that they get over the year. And so that's just kind of how things worked out. Dalit Bekov, who's a top seed, he went to a lot of the rankings tournaments, and he went to the Continental. And so, yeah, it's an unbalanced bracket, and you have Miles Amin, and you have Yazdani and Krugliev all on the same side. If you don't know who Krugliev is, guy who almost beat David Taylor, Russian transfer, and then you got Brooks and Nifanov, who are unseeded, going to be randomly drawn in. So maybe the 5 best guys in the bracket could all be on that bottom side, which is just wild to think about.
So American fans are desperately hoping that Aaron Brooks ends up on the top side of that bracket to avoid guys like Miles Amin who beat him in a folk style match, and obviously Yazdani. You want that in the finals. That's best case scenario for America. We do not want him getting dropped into that super tough bottom half of the bracket.
If you hope that he gets dropped in on the top and Nafanov does not. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, because then it gives them a great path, right, to the finals. There's still dudes up there that are really good, but yeah, the bottom side is the clear.
If that does happen, does he become next topic to the finals? We got a question from Slink. If they're opposite sides, now he said he wasn't really showing the seeding, but if they're on opposite sides and we say Nifanov gets put on the bottom, is Brooks next topic to the finals?
I don't think his next topic. The 8 seed is Japan's Ishiguro, who beat him at U20s, who beat Aaron Brooks at U20s. This Ishiguro guy's
Also
really
Zahid,
good.
Right?
Also beat Zahid.
And
Also
Miles.
beat Miles Amin. Yeah. So yeah, he's the truth for sure. Dalit Bekov just beat Miles Amin as well. He's the 1 seed. Ramazanov is the 5 seed. He teched Chance Marsteller. So I mean, there's some dudes up there that are really good. So yeah, I don't think it's next topic, but it certainly makes it easier.
And we also haven't seen on the senior level Brooks do this yet. So I don't think anything can be next topic until you see somebody do it at that level.
The other thing is, I mean, we know Brooks is a force. The guy's, he's a beast, but just look at his Olympic trials run. It wasn't like he was completely untouchable. I mean, there were
That's
some
what we forget.
there were some challenges.
Singlet
right?
pull away.
He wasn't next topic to the Olympic trials finals.
Exactly.
You wouldn't say that he's next topic to the Olympics itself, too.
Had he not beat David Taylor the way that he did, I don't think people would be maybe quite as optimistic. But still, I mean, I think Aaron Brooks is so good. I would think if he ends up on that top side, I would think he's going to make it to the finals. I don't know. You can't say next topic, but you got to pick him.
Yeah, he's probably my pick. But stuff like that, like you were saying, Bray, how close some of his matches were at Olympic trials is why I don't think enough people gave credit to maybe David Taylor taking a slight step back. Obviously, even beating David Taylor is a huge, unreal accomplishment that nobody has been able to do. Even Yazdani has only beaten him once in all the times they've met. But I didn't think that was getting enough consideration.
I wonder how much the scale will be a factor for Aaron early in the Olympic tournament, because
Man, it wasn't a factor at Olympic trials.
I mean, he didn't look like he was in peak performance when he was wrestling. Which Mirasolo brother was it? Connor. He got taken down by Connor. I think he gave it the first takedown.
Yeah, but then remember he was cutting weight until like 1 or 2 in the morning and then wrestled his best.
Yeah,
Day
but he
2.
had like the whole day to recover from the weight cut. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's something to consider. If Aaron is struggling with the weight and then pulls Nafanov first round, that's not a great scenario.
Potentially. I don't know. I think Aaron's a professional. So, I mean, if it's a big enough pull, doesn't matter how professional you are. It could affect you, but
He talked about it in the interview he did with Bash, and he was saying, like, man, didn't have enough time to properly adjust to dropping down to 86. He's like, I'm glad I have the summer now to adjust and be like a real 86 rather than coming down from 197. He said he was just bigger than he should be. So I think it's going to be better at the Olympics.
That was like a practice run almost for him in terms of making weight.
Yeah.
So you bring your natural weight down just a little bit, You've already felt it twice, day 1, day 2. I think he'll be good.
I think too about like not only Team USA but Nittany Lion guys that we've asked that question about the weight cut before, and the one that comes to mind is Thomas Gilman, 2021 Olympics, and it was like, oh man, how's this guy going to make the weight effectively? 1 day weigh in and wrestle well at the Olympics, and he looked great. He looked fantastic. Yeah, almost did. And so I think Cale Sanderson, Cody, Casey, they're going to have him ready to go 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Just asking questions here. That's what we
Great.
do for fun. All right, moving on. Let's jump back down to 57 kilograms. Spencer Lee will be randomly drawn into his Olympics bracket. Do we want him to be on the top or bottom side?
Ooh.
Talk to me. Tell me about the seeds here, Kozak.
Yeah, it's pretty balanced. You got, I don't know if you want me to read them out 1 through 8, but Micic is the 1, Higuchi's the 2, Hartunyan the 3, Barraclough the 4, Aman the 5, Aguyev 6, Zhao 7, and Abdullayev 8. So for me, I think we talked about this earlier. I think that top side might be just a little, maybe just a little easier. You don't like that, Tyler. But I think bottom side, I just think matchup wise with Higuchi, with Hartunyan, Aguyev, I think those are tougher matchups for Spencer Lee.
I think that Abakarov is like sneakily one of the better guys in this bracket. He'll be on the top side. Why do you think Abakarov is better matchup for Spencer than Higuchi?
I think just athletically, I think Higuchi is a crazier, better athlete. Some of the things he can do on his feet, and then also his parterre offense is just really, really good.
And then how I feel about Stevan. I don't gotta say nothing about that.
Have we ever seen Spencer get turned, parterre? Did he get turned against Zhao?
He may have.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he might have. I can't remember for
He got
sure.
forward and he got taken down at the end. I think it was just 2 twos, a 4, and a step out. I don't think he did.
I'm so excited for this weight class because most of these guys have been around the scene for a long time. They're like really recognizable names, super accomplished, and I think Spencer Lee. I think not only he can win. I mean, I think he's going to, I think he's going to win. And if
Bravey,
and if he's going to win, it would kind of be more fun if he went through that side with Yaguyev and Higuchi and whatever. Even though I think I also agree that's probably the harder side for him. But I think that would be awesome. And then, I don't know, why not Stevan in the finals? That'd be fun.
I also want every American to have the toughest path and also win every match.
Win every match. Just win every match. That'd be great.
Yeah, over the weekend, Higuchi did wrestle at the ranking series tournament, and he got down 8-0 to Aman, and then he came back, got on top, and then...
What else can I say?
Yeah.
Was it Aman?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was Arzal.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, Azeri guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, JD's mentioning Higuchi's Twitter game. He likes to...
What'd he say?
He's the most underrated Twitter follow out there. Very funny. A lot of it is like translation issues, but
He doesn't tweet in English, does he?
sometimes,
Does he?
yeah, but sometimes it's Japanese too. But somebody, might have been UWW or us, I don't know, but posted a highlight of like him getting down 8-0, but then he comes back and he just quotes you and goes, "What can I say?" Shrug. And this was like during the tournament. This was like right after the match.
He's had some other good ones. Do you remember, you were telling us about some of the other?
Yeah, you just got to go through it, but they're not like intentionally funny. They're just like I think it was before this tournament too. He tweeted like, "I have a fever of whatever degree temperature. I am dying."
It was during the
Maybe that's what
rankings
got
tournament, or
Yeah, this was just a couple days ago.
so that was one of the times where you see how good he is on parterre offense on top. And I remember you guys were talking about Spencer coming up, like I think it was before Olympic trials, or maybe it was after. But I was like, you guys think Spencer's parterre offense is comparable to Higuchi's? And you guys all kind of converted me into thinking that it's better. Why do you guys think that?
I mean, because he can turn anybody with a variety of turns to leg lace or gut, or just like one arm having like a trap. Like, it's basically anything. I've seen people turn like Higuchi before. I've never seen anybody like Spencer in senior level freestyle just be able to turn people.
All right. Simple answer. Okay. Next weight class. Do we like Zane on the top half or bottom half of 65 kilograms?
What do they look like, Kozak?
And 65 is going to be so tough, regardless of where he's at. You got the past 2 world champions, Amuzad and Musakayev, on the bottom half of the bracket, along with Haji Aliyev. And then top side has Tavanyan, world bronze, Mamadov, world bronze, and then Tumurachur, who just beat Zane Rutherford. And then unseeded, you got Japan's Kayuka, who just beat Musakayev as well. So it's like, I guess, like, pick your poison, right? Yeah. Where I don't know how you guys feel about the matchups, but yeah, it's running through some world champs or some really high level guys who are right there and have beaten Zane before.
I mean, this is a 65 kilogram field. There wasn't going to be an easy route.
Yeah. Akhmed Aliyev's unseeded as well. I think Mamadov's the best guy in this bracket. His offense is just, man, it is really, really good. A lot of stuff he does is super creative, crazy athlete. We were watching him beat Amuzad this morning. It's like, wow, some of the things
he was on the edge, about to get stepped out, somehow finds his wrist and has a whizzer and just
whizzer kicks him over.
Yeah,
some of the things he can do athletically are really wild. And he was really close to beating Musakayev last year as well. So I think Mamadov's the best guy in the bracket. So
Mamadov kind of has like a Bo Bartlett like persona on Instagram as well.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. Like, doesn't he do like athletic things all the time?
Mamadov?
Yeah, I think so.
Not really.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to fact check myself. I'm pretty sure he's like always doing like workouts and like trying to do.
I don't think he's doing like crazy flips for obvious content.
Here's my question for you guys.
Like the Russian.
How does a match between Zane Rutherford and Musakayev look? What does that look like?
Zane emphatically trying to get his hands on him and hand fight him to death to where he falls over, and then trying to score in the last minute or two, versus Musakayev, who wants to kind of clear out of those ties, work from space, do his little crawl double shot or post shot. I think that's kind of the battle within the battle. Can Zane get his hands on him and wear him down, versus can Musakayev get the space and score enough early?
Musakayev is so many wrestlers' best win. You know what I mean? Like Evan Henderson has a win over Musakayev.
Yeah, that was incredible.
It was an awesome match if you want to go back and watch that. But it makes you, if you're going to look at the top tier 65, you put Musakayev in there. But you also, in my opinion, think that that's Zane's best chance at beating one of those guys. If he's in your path, like you kind of want Musakayev to be Zane's guy because
I don't know, Musakayev, he kind of got a gas tank now. He's kind of just really good now.
Yeah.
The thing about Zane Rutherford Musakayev matchup that could be awesome is it could be the best type of Musakayev match, which is one where he's having to do his old antics and having to avoid
cold spray.
Yeah, the cold spray, it could be all that, but I don't know. The thing about 65 kilos that seems like it's been true year after year is there's a guy who shows up and looks completely unbeatable. And, we've seen that be, Amizad before. We've seen that be Musakayev last year. And I kind of think 65 kilos, it's going to be what is the wrestler that shows up and just looks like the very best version of themselves, the unbeatable version. I don't know, even back in like 2016 was like Romanov just all of a sudden just killed everybody. I don't know. I think there may be somebody like that could be probably any one of these. It could be Zane, but I think something like that often happens at a weight like this where everybody's really good. It's just who rolls up and is like untouchable.
That's kind of what you have to happen to win a bracket like this. Like if you're playing the 1 point game, when you're going to have 4 really tough world-class matches, you might get got on one, but if you come and wrestle like out of your mind, you kind of have to do that to win arguably the deepest weight in the world.
And it's kind of funny how that happened the last 2 Olympics. Odoguro just popped off. What was it?
Romanov. I think I call him something else. I don't know.
Ramadan?
Yeah.
No, I think you said the right thing.
Okay.
I just couldn't remember. Because there's also a wrestler named Ramazanov or something at a different weight. Anyways, it's funny how that happens at 65. And then like Odoguro didn't medal at the last Worlds. I think that same thing happened to Romanov after 2016 too.
It's partially just also due to the nature of 65 kilos, it being so tough and so deep. It's harder to go on dominant runs of multiple years and being a lower weight, like versus an 86 or 97 or 125, where you have less, I don't want to say variances in performances, but less wrestling exchanges is going to lead to more consistent results. Whereas at your lower weights, where athleticism is so important, speed is so important, and you get into so many crazy wrestling exchanges per match, you're going to get more, inevitably, you're going to get more variance in performances and outcomes.
What time is it, JD? How much do we have time to go through another weight before our guest joins? Okay. Let's go to 74 kilos. Dake's two of Dake's biggest competitors could be randomly drawn into this bracket. Kozak, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Two former Russians, Kadi Magomedev, who teched Dake at the Tokyo Olympics, and Razimbek Jamalov, who maybe American fans aren't super familiar with, but he was number 2 in Russia for a few years at 74, just transferred to Uzbekistan, won the ranking series tournament, has wins over Frank Chamizo, beat Salkazanov as well. He beat Sabalov the year that Sabalov beat Sidakov at Russian Nationals, and Jamalov had a 2-2 match with Sidakov at 21 Russian Nationals. This guy he's really good. Jamalov can win the Olympics for sure, and he's going to be unseated. We saw what Kadi did to Dake last year, and so it's great that Dake is opposite side Sidakov, but there's these two guys out there that I think they're real threats to both Sidakov and to Dake.
We were just watching that Jamalov-Sidakov final, Russian Nationals final.
Yeah.
He was winning until the last 10. So he was up 2-0 on Sidakov, and Sidakov just pulled some Sidakov stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the match, you can watch it on YouTube. Up 2-0, like 15 seconds left. Jamalov gives up a step out. He's up 2-1, 10 seconds left. And he kind of just backs out of bounds with maybe 2 or 3 seconds to go. And Jamalov looks and he sees he doesn't have criteria, and he's like really confused. He thought he had criteria over Sidakov and just kind of like, mental lapse. And so, what could have been if he would have just been a little bit more defensive there in the last 5 seconds, he could have kept Sidakov from making that world team that year. Or that was the Olympic year. From winning the Olympics. Like, Jamalov's that good. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy looking back with hindsight.
And this will be his first time being sent to a world or Olympic.
First time sent to senior worlds. He's U23 world champ, U20 world silver. The year that he won U23s, I think he beat Nakodi, Iran's 79 kilo guy.
To me, that mental lapse in judgment is kind of the difference between a world champion level guy versus a legend like Sidakov.
Mm-hmm.
Like legends like Sidakov's, I feel like they're not going to have that mental break where they don't know criteria, where they all of a sudden accidentally give up criteria.
You feel
he's the definition of like winners win.
You feel the same way about Dake too.
Yeah, champions find a way.
Yeah, and
sometimes that way is making sure your opponent doesn't know criteria, but you find a way.
I mean, Dake and Burroughs have been two of America's most clutch wrestlers of recent time, and Sidakov just beats him, and it makes no sense. Like, he's a guy, you can get close to him. You see a lot of wrestlers who have close matches with Sidakov, but there's something about Sidakov. He just freaking wins. It's crazy. He just does it. And so yeah, even that example that you're talking about where, I don't know, mental lapse, it's just, I don't know. It's almost like he has like powers over these people.
Sometimes it takes not giving up criteria, even though you Grand beat across your back. That also happened. He did that and didn't give up too.
Dude, it's nuts. Because like growing up watching Jordan Burroughs do that to guys over and over again, and then he did that to Jordan twice.
It was shocking.
He was like 5 seconds away from 2 more world titles. It's insane. So how do we like Dake's seed at the Olympics? What does his path look like outside of those two guys being randomly drawn in?
Yeah, it's good. He's the 1 seed. The 4 and 5 are the Greek that he beat last year and the Takatani, the guy from Japan that he beat last year. And then the 8 is guy from Guinea-Bissau. So
Oh wow.
feel like he's the favorite.
Mostly just pay attention to where these guys get randomly drawn in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did have close matches against Takatani and the Greek, so we'll see.
What do you think a rematch with Dake and Cotty looks like?
I don't think it goes the same way. I don't think Dake gets bombed. Still a really tough match. Cotty's really talented, but Dake's had undeniably better international results than him outside of that one tournament. So I lean Dake, but
Yeah.
We interviewed Cotty at Senior Worlds in 2023. Do you remember how that interview went? Kozak conducted it.
Yeah, it was great. It was
he plays a
awesome.
great villain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what did he say? He said he didn't really think of. He was like, I don't really train for Kyle Dake.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't really think about him that often. Yeah, so
It just can't be true. But hey, we're gonna table this Olympic talk conversation because we got our guest on today. One, Mr. Nelson Brands. Nelson, you got us?
Oh, I don't hear him.
I don't hear him either.
I don't hear him either. So try and get that audio fixed out. Could be something on our end. VMix sometimes is our enemy.
I think I hear him.
You got me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
there
we
he is.
got you. What's
Alright,
going on,
sounds
Nelson?
good.
How you doing, man?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. And am I correct in saying you are out in the mountains right now?
I am, yes. I just was down in southern Colorado for the Rest of the World camp that my dad has done for 31 years now. So getting some training in, and now I'm climbing some mountains before I head back for Iowa camps.
What do you love so much about climbing mountains? I feel like you how many 14ers are you up to now?
I am at, I did 2 yesterday, so I'm at 39 out of 58 14,000-foot mountains.
Good Lord. What is it about climbing really, really tall mountains that you like so much?
Now people kind of make fun of me, especially my teammates, when I say this, but there's very few things in life that relate to getting your hand raised in a wrestling match. And one of the things for me that comes about as close as you can is summiting a really tall mountain. So that's about all I've got for you guys on that.
It is kind of cool. Not to brag. I've done one before. I did Mount Elbert. I think. Is that how you say it?
Oh, yeah, the tallest one. Yeah.
That's right. The tallest one. No big deal. But it is pretty cool. It's just kind of rewarding, I guess. Maybe it's the right word. Like, it's really hard, but then once you get to the top.
Yeah, it sounds like a great word.
That's
JD.
a good word for it.
Well, it's like, because kind of when you're doing it, like, obviously the act of, like, walking up a steep incline for hours is not in and of itself fun. But then you get to the top, and it's like a payoff.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with you on that.
All right, Nelson. Well, we brought you on here today to talk about wrestling. Just a couple weeks ago, it was announced you got your medical hardship approved. Walk us through this kind of timeline a little bit, because it was like this whole ordeal where it was like, no, got denied. And then Nelson's done. He's moving on. He's coaching. He's Hawkeye Wrestling Club. And then all of a sudden, you pull us back in just a couple weeks ago. What was the whole process like?
I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I mean, this has been the craziest situation I've ever been a part of in my life. You know, going back to when I first downloaded DraftKings in September of what would that be now? Would that be 2022? Yeah, September of 2022. And I gambled on DraftKings $195 total till December of 2022. And then I deleted the app until after season, because postseason starts rolling around. You want to start focusing on that Big Ten schedule and such. But it's not that the gambling necessarily is what cost me my year. It's the five $5 bets on Iowa football that cost me my year. And I didn't gamble on wrestling. I didn't gamble on Iowa wrestling. I didn't gamble on myself. Situations like that did not happen. But it really sucks that I decided to put money on Iowa football. And although I did not have any insider information or whatnot, and I actually lost all those bets because I was betting the over instead of the under, like everybody was telling me to. I'm kind of want Iowa football to do well, you know. So I was like, screw them, you know. Let's see them win. Let's see them score more points. So, you know, DraftKings, they have those promos where they say you put $5 in, you get $100 or $200 towards betting. And I was bored, and I was in the basement of my house with my roommates, and it's just situations like that had this happen. And you know, throughout the year, we got I don't want to say like we were pumped up because we thought we were going to be able to get out of this, you know, not necessarily get away with, but we were like, okay, they're not going to give us this harsh of a punishment for my $195 gambled on DraftKings and on my phone. And the student NCAA wanted the committee to reevaluate the punishments, and they decided to go from permanent ban to 1 year, which didn't help any of us, right? Didn't help me, didn't help Abe Assad, didn't help Tony Cassiope, and it just it really put a dagger in all of us, you know. I mean, I know I took off out of Iowa for a few months after that, after I found out that my season was completely over and I had no chance. But just in all, the whole situation was unfortunate, you know. And all I can say about the situation is that you got to follow the rules. And I always say follow the rules, follow the rules. But one of these things where it was just like free money kind of got in the way of the rules, and I made a mistake, and it cost me a whole year. And I'm lucky that you know, Tom came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you got an injury year," and I was like, "Okay." I didn't know if I really wanted to take it. I wasn't planning on taking it if I got my 6th year, my COVID year. Last year, I was not planning on coming back. I was ready to move on, ready to do my thing, you know. But yeah, so that's the kind of the whole situation and what happened from my eyes.
When you downloaded DraftKings, did you know, hey, technically I'm not supposed to be doing this, or is it something, I don't know, you just don't even think of because every or 80% or whatever of college kids can do it, so you just see your peers doing it and maybe weren't as informed, or it was like whatever, it's just a couple bets, who cares?
So I mean, I knew it was frowned upon. I did not, and I say this with 100% certainty that I had no idea that I could lose a whole entire year, let alone my entire career. Like, that's originally what we was stuck with. You're completely banned from the NCAA. Like, you can't even coach in the NCAA.
Wow.
So that I had no idea that was coming. I did know that it was frowned upon. I did know that there could be penalties that came. I didn't look at the book and read the rules and what would happen on how many bets and how many dollars. And once we started having those meetings with the NCAA and the lawyers and all that stuff, they started telling you what was happening, and we're like, okay, this is real, you know. And then it just went spiraled all the ways down, and it was like a roller coaster, you know. One day we were pumped up, and I keep saying we because me, Abe, Tony, and Kobe, we were all kind of in the same boat, talking to each other and like, wow, we're actually gonna be able to compete this year, at least the postseason. And then all of a sudden we couldn't compete, and then all of a sudden we got 1 year, and it didn't matter for those guys, and it's just it's a crazy situation.
And I think the part that really sucks about it too is this wasn't a fair thing across the board for everybody in the country. It was you guys, and to a slightly lesser extent Iowa State, pretty much. You know, when you go to the NCAA tournament, you win NCAAs, or you go to the Olympic Games, whatever, they test everybody for PEDs. That's fair across the board. Obviously, other college wrestlers are gambling on sports. I don't think you'd have to be crazy not to think that. But not every other institution is getting looked at, you know, by a legal entity. So that's where I was like, this really unfortunate situation.
Yeah, and you know, regarding that sense, like I said at the end of when I was giving you guys the rundown of what happened, follow the rules, right? And if I'm being forced to follow the rules, then I hope that these agents, you know, I don't know how much you guys would follow this, but it was pretty much done illegally, and I hope these agents get held accountable too. You know, like I got held accountable. I lost a whole year of my eligibility, and you know, Tony and Abe lost their careers. So it's just, I hurt for those guys, and I'm grateful that I get a chance at another year, or I have another chance at wrestling for the University of Iowa. But yeah, I just hurt for Tony and Abe.
Yeah, that sucks big time. And I do think that agent did get fired. I don't know if he's facing any
Oh
other
wow.
legal repercussions, but I'm pretty sure he did get let go after this whole thing came out, and it was determined that this was just an illegal investigation that this one guy really just wanted to. It was a witch hunt.
Do we want to throw an allegedly on there?
I said I think.
Okay.
I think that means allegedly. I believe. But you said you weren't going to take your 6th year if you're able to, then this whole thing goes down. So why did you end up choosing to come back this year?
Hold on, I'm going to hold you there. This is actually my 7th year.
7th.
I will be getting the Kimmer grandpa year treatment.
So why did you decide to come back?
Yeah, so you get banned for a year. You get banned for the entire year, and in your head you're thinking, okay, I got another crack at the NCAA, and this is what all of us wrestlers, it's what we train for. We train to compete at the postseason NCAA tournament. That's like the end goal. And when that got taken away from me, like I said, I took a break, went and slept in my car, drove around the country a little bit, came back, and actually I was kind of away for too long. I told Tom I was going to be gone for a week. It was inching towards like 11 days, and Tom called me and says, "Get the hell back home." So I got back home to train with the guys, because you can't leave those guys high and dry. You got to keep training with them. They're competing too, and I totally understood. So I got my butt back home and started training again with them. And Tom was kind of asking me what I want to do, and I told him that I thought I was done, and he said, "Well, you got an injury year," and I said, "Well, let's apply for it," and then that got granted to me, and I was like, "Let's take it." And that's just the like I said, the main reason I took it is because we got left high and dry. I didn't have a chance to actually end my career how I wanted to end my career, or even if it's not how you wanted, there's no closure there. I don't want to say we got screwed, but we got screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I think anybody can kind of understand where you're coming from.
I have a question. I remember I found out that my NCAA season was so my last year was the COVID year. Nelson, let me tell you something about my career. I qualified for the NCAAs for the first time, and then it was canceled in 2020. So I understand a little bit what it's like to have your career cut short. But I remember just going and binge eating after that. So I want to know, when you thought your career was over, was there any resulting inflation of your body? I don't know what I'm saying.
Body inflation. Okay.
What did you binge anything after?
No, so my getaway is getting out of the Midwest. In the Midwest, you ain't got nothing to do besides wrestle and play some video games. So my binge or my getaway was taken off out of the Midwest. I can eat. I can definitely eat, but I try not to balloon up, because I want to be in shape to climb mountains, in the future, and start and do crazy adventures. So you got to be in shape to do that.
Well, that's the difference between you and me.
Hey.
Oh, and regarding that, like that 2020 year, I mean, that's just another whole thing. And if this interview was a few years ago, I'd be saying I'm hurting for Lugo, but Lugo's moved on. Things like that move on, and those UNI guys too, Lujan and Thompson, like that's just crazy, and you, of course, and they think things like that is just, it's where the NCAA just doesn't
my name
get it right.
deserves to be next to guys like Lugo. Definitely.
You've had one of the most, I'll say, interesting college career. Unique, maybe, is the word that nobody has had to deal with, or very few have had to deal with all the stuff you've had to deal with in terms of what's transpired over the past 7 years. But looking ahead to this year and this past year, you've been in the room, I assume, training with Gabe Arnold. What's that been like, having a guy of that caliber come in and be able to get better together with?
He's awesome. I gotten really close to him since he got on campus, and you know, we're shooting guns and having good times together. And he's a unique cat, and you know, when you start getting old in the college room, you start to notice that when young guys come in, they truly are young. And you know, he's got those funny things that I used to do, you know, messing with guys, and when I was his age, and it's really fun to see that those bushy-tailed young guys in the room. It helps the room a lot, and he helps me too. You know, he's one of the most athletic guys I've probably ever wrestled. Strong, cuts off his pockets a lot. Yeah, we always talk about this, where he blocks his elbows out, and he's just an athletic guy, and I'm glad that I get to train with him. I really am.
And your whole room is really stacked, kind of, you know, from 74, 84, 97, 65, kind of a murderer's row there. Have you all talked about maybe, you know, between like you, Gabe, Kennedy, kind of figuring out the whole weight thing? Do you know what weight you're going to go this year?
I'm, like I said, I'm really good friends with them. We don't really talk about what weight we're going to go. Obviously when you step on the mat, I always tell guys this when they're young, or any guys that want to talk about that. Like, when I step on the mat, we're not friends. But as soon as that practice is over, or that match is over, or that hand fight's over, we're friends. We're good. We're really good friends. Mm-hmm. So, for me, I am in my head, I'm going 174. So I know there's been a lot of speculation that I'm going 84 because I wrestled 89 kilos at the last chance, and no, in my head, I'm going 174. So that is my plan. But regarding that, I mean, the Iowa room, it always works itself out. You know, we always end up figuring out a way to make the best lineup. And either way, I'm sure everyone's gonna work their way in, and we're gonna have a hammer of a lineup, no matter what, no matter who's in, no matter what's going on.
For sure. Speaking of Iowa room, are y'all in the new room working out every day yet? That thing is sick.
So I
like it.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, it's way too nice for wrestlers, in my opinion. I mean, it's mats wall to wall, and then behind the wall you got your ice bath, you've got your locker room that's absurdly nice. You got your laundry that's done right there now, so we don't need to walk down the stairs, which I'm not even complaining about walking down the stairs. That's what I'm saying. This is way too nice. And I'm really, we are really fortunate to have this room, and I think it's the coolest room I've been in for wrestling.
That's what I say. It can't be too nice, or you're gonna get soft. You can't be spoiled like that, you know. You gotta stay tough. Can't be having all these nice things.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, another kind of unique situation to you, growing up with a legendary father, you know, like you did. Sorry, just how did that kind of influence you? You know, was there any pressure to get into wrestling, to be really good at wrestling once you were in it, or just kind of how did that all play out?
Yeah, I get this question all the time, and some people believe me, but this is what I've told everybody that's asked me this question is I was not forced into wrestling at all, like at all. I didn't start wrestling until I was in 5th grade, and the reason I started wrestling was because my friends were wrestling. So I was around wrestling because of my dad. So my friends were in wrestling, but I wasn't in wrestling yet, and I remember I was like, oh, I want to start wrestling. And I don't know the exact conversation I had with my dad, but I kind of asked him, like, well, can I go to practice with my friends? And my first practice was Pablo Ubasa. Ubasa trained over here in Iowa City. So when my dad was at the OTC, I had never wrestled. I had, I'm sure he grabbed me in the living room and whatnot when I was young, but he had never talked about me getting into wrestling ever to me. And once I got into it, he told me, if you ever have any questions about wrestling, you come to me. Otherwise, I'm going to stay out of it. And he stayed out of it right up until I got into college, you know. And I had Mark Ryland as my high school coach. Rest in peace. He was the man. I truly believe that he's one of the guys that made me enjoy wrestling as much as you possibly can, because wrestling is really not the most enjoyable sport. And I really miss that guy. But once I got to college, I told my dad, well, I didn't really tell him this, but we kind of told each other. I was like, so when are you going to be my dad? When are you going to be my coach? And he said, when we're in the room, I'm your coach. And when you're over at the house with mom and dad, then I'm your dad. So that's kind of what's happened in that situation. And same with Tom, Tom's my coach when we're in the room. And then when we're outside of the room, he's my uncle and my good mentor, my good friend.
Yeah, I think that situation was handled really well. I mean, obviously, just looking at results, I do remember. So I grew up in Iowa, and kind of following the state tournament and stuff. And you made a huge jump. Was it your sophomore year of high school? You were like, I can't remember if you didn't qualify or you like qualified and didn't place at the state tournament, and then you like teched your way to a title the year after that. And I was just like, whoa. And that's when I was like, oh, you can tell this guy didn't start wrestling until maybe a little bit later and is now making those jumps that a lot of Iowa kids maybe make when they're in 5th and 6th grade when they've already been wrestling for 6 years. You were just in like hitting your 4th, 5th year in wrestling or whatever. Was it your sophomore year that you made that jump?
My freshman year of high school, I didn't qualify for state. And then Mark Ryland, who I mentioned was my high school coach, he got me in to make sure I was doing wrestling in the summer, and he made sure I was wrestling, 4 or 5 times a week. And he really excelled my wrestling a lot in that aspect. And then I ended up winning 3 state titles after that. But I think that what I try to tell people is that summer training, if you really want to be good at wrestling, you got to train in the summer. And most guys that are really, really good understand that. But a lot of high schoolers, if I was talking to the high school group right now, I would tell them that you got to train in the summer if you want to be the best wrestler you can be.
Nelson, I got a question for you. Thinking about that, balancing your relationship with your dad as a coach and as a father. He wasn't your coach for a long time of your life. Once he became, your coach, was there anything that surprised you about him as a coach that maybe you hadn't realized until he took on that role?
Not much surprised me. He is him and Tom are high strung guys, and they are the most loyal people you'll ever meet. And I knew that, right? I grew up with them. I've seen the fights that they've been in together, and I've seen the yelling matches and chess matches where pieces thrown. And it's behind that. It is very similar in the way that they coach, where it is hard nosed. And as soon as you're off the wrestling mat, they are your best friend, and they will be your best friend if you want them to be. I think they're straight up, and I grew up with that. I grew up with the worst truths, the not wanting to hear the truth and getting it anyways and stuff like that. And I think it really made me a better person besides just being a better wrestler too,
You said that when you're not in the wrestling room, he's your dad. Does he still talk to you about wrestling as your dad? Is there a difference between the way your dad, Terry, your dad talks to you about wrestling, and Terry, your coach, talks to you about wrestling, or do you guys just try to avoid talking about wrestling entirely when you're outside the room?
So kind of that principle where where he didn't push me into wrestling he didn't push me into wrestling at all, but until 5th grade when I got into wrestling. And he said, come to me if you have questions about wrestling. That's how it is. He won't talk about wrestling unless I talk to him about wrestling. And I guess it's ingrained in his brain where that's just how it's going to be. And I don't mind it. I don't either way. He can talk about wrestling if he wants. I love talking about wrestling, but that is kind of the way we distinguish, so I can listen to him as a coach in the room versus being like, because, most teenage guys, and I'm not a teenager anymore, but most teenage guys aren't going to listen to their dad very well. So that's the way we distinguish the coach versus the dad aspect, is we only talked about wrestling outside of the wrestling room if I wanted to, if I brought it up. And that idea and that principle is just, it's stuck with us forever. I'm on my 7th year of college, and it's still a thing, and if we're in the room, he will bring up wrestling, obviously. Yeah. He will grab me and he will make sure, and he'll put me through hard workouts and stuff, but he won't do that when we're at home.
Do you think you want to get into coaching when you're done competing, or are you just going to go do mountain man adventures? Full-time mountain man career.
I don't know. My options are I'm completely open to anything. I would love to help out any way I can with the wrestling world. You know, I'm pretty loyal to wrestling in itself, and I don't have any plans at all yet, but I'll start looking to that after the NCAA tournament this year.
Good. Anything else you guys want to ask? I just want to end with this. Nelson, you have an amazing opportunity this year to do one of the best bits of all time in college wrestling. If you make Kenny Rogers, the Gambler, your walkout song. I think you might have to.
That might happen. You'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah, coming on to Carver, that would be electric. NCAA finals, that would be amazing. Nelson, is there anything else you want to add or shout out, promote, or whatever before we let you get out of here?
No, just thanks for having me on, and go Hawks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nelson.
Thanks, Nelson.
Yep, we'll see you next time. All right. Well, that was Nelson Brands.
Well, just
Gambler out.
right away, he said he's going 174. That's in his head. He plans on going 174. And we just talked on the show about how Iowa kind of has a logjam. We were talking about Patrick Kennedy, Gabe Arnold, both going 79 kilos. Now add Nelson Brands to that mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you were able to rank each of them, I mean, they'd probably all be, I don't know, top 10 174 pounders right now. Iowa's got 3 of those guys in the room, and they're going to be battling for one spot. And I mean, it sounds like, just based on, talking to Nelson, that's one of the things that makes the Iowa room elite is these guys aren't going to concede. And I think you kind of have to think that way if you're Nelson Brands or Gabe Arnold or Patrick Kennedy. It's like, I'm not going to concede. I'm not going to go to a weight that's not my ideal weight, just because it might like help this team. But it's something that's got to get sorted out for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do like a wrestle off situation and winner gets to wait, loser has to move up or down and try their hand there, or what's going to happen. But that's going to be really interesting to follow. It's one of probably the major storylines heading into the season.
And that's kind of a look into what these guys' mindsets are like, because I think a lot of people are wondering, why don't they all have it all planned out ahead of time? And the answer is no. Like, you heard Nelson talk about it, and it's the way it kind of was at Michigan too. It's like when everyone just kind of has their own individual plans, and none of it really comes to fruition until it's time to show up on the scale.
Right.
And then you kind of start to figure things out. But you heard him say, we don't talk about weight with each other. We're friends outside the mat, and we're enemies once we step on it.
It's the same mentality as why you would go to an Iowa or a Penn State or an Oklahoma State, and you hear, oh, but they've already got this guy and this guy. The room's so crowded. It's like, yeah, but that's my best chance to succeed.
Yeah.
Is at this institution or at this weight. So that's where I'm going. This is where I need to do. If I'm gonna do it, this is where I need to do it. If I don't do it, then we reassess. But
all right, Tyler, I got a question for you then, because I think the first time I ever tried to say your name was at the Black Knight Invite in 2019. I think I pronounced your last name wrong, but you were wrestling Will Luwan in that match. And I think when a lot of wrestling fans watch matches between teammates, you gotta expect it to be boring and like, okay, these guys are familiar and whatever. But I mean, if the lineup spots like really are up in the air and you're really trying to battle for that, what do those matches feel like? When you're trying to make it into a varsity lineup.
It's huge. It's like when you get that chance. I remember an even more important match with Will that I had that year. So for reference, I was trying to be the 157 pounder that year. I ended up being the 65 pounder, but at the Michigan State Open, it was an even bigger deal because I had a really close match with him in our wrestle off, and then I'm like, okay, I get to wrestle Will at the Michigan State Open. It lined up. Like, if I win this match, I'll get to be Michigan starter at 157 this year. And then he pinned me in a headlock in 25 seconds. And it was one of the most brutal experiences of my entire life. I haven't cried after many wrestling matches, but I was crying because I was I knew that was my opportunity to make the lineup there. Like, those matchups between teammates, especially at a tournament, I think it matters more than individual wrestle off. And so, yeah, it's a big deal. There's a lot of pressure on it, and you know what it means.
Yeah. And you're still friends with Will Luan to this day.
I'm still great friends. Yeah. Friends off the mat. Yeah, 100%. What Nelson said is super true. You kind of have to lock in once you step in on the mat and shake hands with them, though, because they're just the person that's in your way of accomplishing the goal that you want to accomplish. So
I wonder if Nelson, wanting to go 74 is just the way he ended 23. He took 5th that year. He beat Dustin Plott twice. And he had wrestled 184 the 2 years prior. And so I wonder if it's, in his mind, just thinking like, man, my success was at 174. And just kind of knowing
his body.
Yeah, knowing his body, knowing where he's
best
at.
weight.
Yeah. So, I mean, he qualified for NCAAs in 21. He was 8-6 that year. And that was at 184. So I think he probably just knows like 174 is where he'll be best.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. You guys want to run through these last 2 Olympic weights before we move on?
Yeah.
I'm back to them.
Let's hit it.
97 kilograms. Snizer, Kyle Snyder, Tazhudanov, and Sajulayev. One of these wrestlers will walk away from the Olympics without a medal. Is that true, Kozak?
The 3 walk into a bar. Only one walks out an Olympic champion.
Yeah. That's
Actually, I guess 2 could. 3 could, actually. They all 3.
yeah.
'Cause 2 of them already are Olympic champions.
It's true if they're all on the same side, which we think they're going to be. The only way it'll be different is if one of the other wrestlers seated above them drop out. So, yeah, Tazhudanov's the 2, Snyder's the 3, Sedulayev's the 7. So, it's wild to think about. And then, as Arpira, who beat Snyder, not seated. So, there could be 2 of them
Man.
walk out. Yeah.
I kind of like that some really good wrestlers are unseated. Just because it's like a total like curveball you find out the day before the tournament. Just like, hey, where's this landmine going to be?
That's like a very optimistic way of looking at it. Because, yeah, it's like kind of fun, but at the same time, it's very stressful, especially at some like 86 kilos. It's like, man, who knows?
But ultimately, it's on those guys. I mean, the process is really simple. And I don't know, you were complaining about the seeds earlier before the show started, and which I think that's because Miles and me's on the same side as Yazdani. I don't know, but these guys know. I mean, they know the process, and UWW has tried to work to, 1, have seeds whatsoever. We didn't used to have them. And 2, to increase them to 8. I think it was 4 for a while.
Yeah.
So the seeds exist. The process is clear. But if guys don't care about it, then it's not going to matter. And, Sajulayev is probably prime example. He's the 7 seed. It's a guy that just historically hasn't put a lot of effort into trying to earn that top spot. So I don't know what else UWW can do if not require these guys to wrestle in these events or whatever. And that, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the process is good, but it is frustrating when some of these guys are not seated where they really should be. But we're in a so much better place than we were the last few Olympic cycles that I'm okay with that at this point.
Which is worse, completely unseated, like somebody really good, completely unseated, or just like a blatantly wrong seed because somebody wrestled more, like somebody who should be the 1 just getting the 3 or the 4. Like, we all think this guy's the best, but looks worse. Which is a worse look.
I don't know. You think about 86 kilos where Dalut Bekov is the number 1, and you're like, how?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is it a bad? Are you asking what's a worse look?
I don't know, look or experience for fans or.
I don't know.
I mean, I think the worst look is, back before, old days when there were brackets that were unbalanced and you had, twice as many guys on one side of the bracket than there were. Obviously, having a seed that's incorrect it's not good. It's not good for the sport, but it's I think so much better than where it used to be where, completely unbalanced bracket. And then back in the days where corruption would really impact the way brackets were constructed, that was even worse too, where you just see this, you see like, okay, this guy's just going to skate through and probably for reasons that are not great. So it could be better, 100%. It could be better. It'd be great if there was a way to just like seed it purely based on skill and based on accomplishments and head-to-head results and all that stuff. But
at the same time, I like encouraging guys to wrestle.
You know,
Yeah,
I was literally just
exactly.
having that thought process in my head. I was like, we talk all the time about how we want to encourage guys to wrestle, and this is doing that. Like, it definitely rewards
is better
worse wrestlers that compete more often. It will reward you.
Had Snyder gone to the ranking series tournament and placed top 5, top 3 maybe, he would have been the 1 seed. He'd have been opposite Sadulayev, opposite Tezhudinov. So, I mean, he could have done it. He chose not to, and in doing so, I think this could be his toughest bracket ever to medal at a Worlds or Olympics.
Well, it's. I was just looking at it. This is exactly the situation that not exactly, but this is the same situation as 2023 Worlds. Snyder lost to Tezhudinov, and we were like, oh man, Snyder's not going to medal because we didn't know who Tezhudinov was yet. We just assumed he was going to lose to Sadulayev, and then he beat Sadulayev, and then Sadulayev forfeited. And so Snyder didn't have to wrestle Sadulayev to try to medal that year. But now it's a situation where if he goes to the Olympics, you're going to assume that he's going to be a better version of himself than the version that showed up at 23 Worlds. And it's scary. It's scary for Kyle Snyder.
I don't think the 97 kilogram bracket as a whole is what I'm looking forward to the most, but kind of the question of, is Tezhudinov this next legend, or was that just a flash last year, is one of the questions I am most excited to have an answer for.
yeah, me too. And the good news, Snyder's the 3, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Snyder's the 3.
So the good news is, by being the 3, there's a chance that if he wins in the semis, he only has to wrestle one. He's only going to have to wrestle one of those guys first. Problem will be if he loses to either Tezhudinov or Sadulayev, then he'll have to wrestle the other one likely for bronze. So that's the good news for Snyder, is like he's in a position where one win and he gets it done. But I agree, JD, with your question. Like, how good is Tezhudinov? We don't know. I mean, we know how good he looked last time.
I'm not ready to crown him yet.
Don't crown him. Don't crown him. Sadulayev was dealing with like a neck injury. We also don't even know if Sadulayev is going to be able to compete. I think he'll be in, but he wasn't allowed to wrestle the last time he tried to. So I don't know. He may be a moot point.
I think if you're an American fan, I would rather see him wrestle Tezhudinov than Sadulayev personally. I know he got 10-0'd by him, but if you watch that match, it feels like it's just a switch up of game plan away from that being a way different match. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes and no. Like, I don't think we're gonna see the exact same Tezhudinov.
Yeah.
Like next round too. Like, I mean, it was a bunch of chest wraps that he got Snyder with last time. So you got to think, Snyder's gonna make adjustments, but then this man, he didn't. In the final result was not a tech fault because Snyder or Sadulayev defaulted, but then he went and kind of beat up on Sadulayev too. So this man is really good. He's really talented.
It felt like Snyder's so strong. He was getting in on his legs a lot. To me, it feels like if Snyder switches from getting in on 2 legs to getting in on 1, and maybe not even focusing on finishing, but just getting the push outs, I feel like it's a winnable match.
And Tezhudinov wasn't as dominant at Asians as he was at Worlds, but I still thought he looked really good there too. And he got it done with stuff other than just the chest wrap he got Kyle Snyder with.
But against guys that weren't Kyle Snyder.
True. But he did it against really good guys.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So
I don't know. That wasn't like that stacked of a bracket, was it?
Mohammedian, he beat.
Oh, really?
Who's
okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
I take it back.
I think he's the real deal. I'm not ready to crown him Sadulayev 2.0 quite yet, though.
Okay. Last weight, 125. Mason Paris. Is Mason Paris not a lock, but are you favoring Mason Paris to make the Olympic finals?
Well, he's gonna have to beat the guy that beat him at Worlds.
Yes.
So I
But
don't know if you can call him the favorite.
But he also just won a bracket. What wins over a guy who beat a guy, whatever. I know it's weird, but he just took gold in a bracket that guy was in as well.
Correct.
So
I would much rather Mason Paris be on that side of the bracket with Geno Petriashvili than up there with Taha and Zare. So I think he's in a really good position. And it does seem like, well, at the ranking series tournament, it seemed like Geno had lost a step. It seemed like he was, not quite the same version of himself, but
The elbow injury, maybe.
he had an injury, and I don't know how bad that injury is, if it's something that's still going to be lingering by the time the Olympics get here. But yeah, I mean, I think Geno looking so vulnerable and Mason looking so good is a great sign. Mason's final was against a guy he had already beat, and it was like 20 seconds long because the guy tried, what was it? Was it a bad head pinch or a bad chest wrap? Either way, he just popped out, pinned him. But yeah, Mason looked great. He's on the side of the bracket that is best case scenario for him, and he can beat Geno even if Geno's not hurt. So, Mason's in a great spot to make the finals.
We kind of talked about it on a previous show, just the fact that Taha and Zare are kind of unknowns for Mason on the senior level. Mason obviously beat Zare for his junior world gold in 2021 or 2019. 2019. So it's been a long time since he's wrestled Zare. Zare obviously kind of taken a step forward since then. Geno what's this man's name? Everyone wants to say it differently.
I say Geno.
Okay, Geno.
I'm not going to say that's right, though. But
Geno is not an unknown because we watched Mason wrestle him in the semis at Worlds. And Mason, I think, had a 6-2 lead on him at one point. So, this is a guy that Mason can get a lead on. We know that. And so I was wearing a Michigan sweatshirt earlier in the show. Everyone knows my bias. I think that Mason's definitely going to get it done. I'm penciling Mason Parris into the Olympic finals.
Pencil him.
Which makes him an Olympic medalist.
There you go.
On pencil.
All right. Christian Carroll's in the portal. Why did he enter the portal, and where will he go?
I mean, he's in the portal because of the coaching change, right? Obviously, Oklahoma State, we've followed it for the last few months. John Smith resigned. Coleman Scott was interim head coach, and then ultimately David Taylor hired. And so the athletes had an opportunity to go into the portal. I think that window may have closed, although
it was the last day.
Yeah.
So it was Friday when Carroll went in.
Yeah. So
why do you think he waited so long?
I wonder if he wanted to wrestle at U23s and have that experience of having a competition under his belt with those guys. Also, if you're training for an event like the U23s, you probably need to be singularly focused on that training and having a good performance there and wrestling well.
Well, also, if you enter the portal, I mean, if you're living in Stillwater and you enter the portal, they might say,
where do you train?
Yeah, we don't want you in the room anymore. You're not a member of this team.
Yeah. So
then you're going to Stillwater High.
Right.
Which is a good high school room, but still a high school room.
Yeah. So I think probably the timing had to do with that. Yeah. Like JD said, he needed the training, but then also maybe trying to see how he liked it, competing, alongside the new staff. So that would be my guess on the timing. I think that's it.
Cool. Next, we wanted to plug Andy's article. He wrote an awesome article about the NCAA settlement and just the different perspectives on it. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I know it was a couple weeks ago that the settlement came out, and Spey was on, and he was sharing his perspective and just kind of some of the economics. But Andy Hamilton got on the phone with a bunch of D1 coaches. I talked to Kevin Dresser at Iowa State, Rob Cole at North Carolina. Bunch of other guys, a real range of schools too, like Kent State, Rider. But I'm trying to blank in my mind who else he talked to, but
Dresser.
Yep, Dresser at Iowa State. Yeah, and
kind of the spectrum of Power 5, also non-Power 5s.
Yeah, and
Troy Nickerson commented as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a really well researched piece, and Andy did a lot of reading and studying up on the settlement in addition to talking with these coaches, and it's a great read because there's a real range of perspectives. Brian Smith of Missouri was also involved there, and there's a real range of perspectives, but ultimately there is some concern for the coaches, and it really starts with Iowa State, right? And I think we covered it probably on the show, but Iowa State had plans to build a wrestling room that they said was going to be the best wrestling room in the country. And right before this settlement was announced, Jamie Pollard, the AD, said, "Wait, let's hold off. Let's not build that room. Let's wait and make sure that we know what's going to happen here." And Dresser's perspective is like it's probably unlikely that facilities like that are going to be a top priority in this new college sports economic environment. So already, you're seeing an impact there, but getting to read through those perspectives from those coaches was really useful for me and valuable. And it does seem like college wrestling coaches are going to want to be diligent and doing their homework and preparing their programs as best they can for what is, like, bottom line, a different economic environment.
That was the word a lot of coaches were using. A lot didn't want to come out and say, hey, this is going to be terrible for college wrestling. But they said things are definitely going to be different. I'm not exactly sure how yet. There's still a lot of things that have to be decided and play out with this settlement, but things are going to be different. I will say, kind of the overall vibe from the article was a little, not quite as optimistic as Andrew Spey.
Yeah.
Was Rob Cole said programs will be cut.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely important to mention that Rob Cole and Kevin Dresser, I mean, they went through that post Title IX era where it was just like programs just getting slashed left and right. So they've been through that, and they even, acknowledge that that's part of their experience. That's coloring their opinions about this stuff. So having lived through that, things are going to change, but I do think it's important to recognize, like, this is uncharted territory, and there will be some changes for sure. And hopefully the extent of it is, okay, we thought we were going to get a new wrestling room and now we don't, but yeah, there are coaches that are pretty certain that we may see some reduced number of programs, and I don't know, it's going to be crazy, I think.
Just in case you didn't see the last show or haven't seen anything about this, just quickly what we're talking about. The NCAA was sued by some former athletes that wanted NIL compensation that weren't allowed to back in the 20-teens and 2020s. And so
I will be collecting.
Tyler will be collecting his money from the Red Raider Open.
Purple.
Purple Raider Open.
Excuse me. The colors
Get your
up.
Raiders straight, dude.
I know.
You would think you,
I know.
I of all people should get your Raiders straight.
I should know. But they came to a settlement for $2.something billion. And some of that will have to come out of teams' athletic budget. Some of it, a lot of it is on the NCAA, but some is on individual institutions. So basically budgets are going to change. And moving forward, players are going to get paid. So the fear is most athletic budget will go to football and basketball that brings in revenue. And non-revenue sports like wrestling could be on the chopping block when budgets have to change.
Yeah. Read Andy's article because he outlines like those perspectives and some of the big questions. But probably the question I'm most curious about, two, I guess. One is, there are going to be roster caps, and what does that mean for wrestling programs that are, like the one at Ryder, that are largely used to bring more students and tuition dollars into the university. Like at Ryder, I think Coach Hangy said they have like a 45-man roster, and that's great for the institution, which is like 3,200 students. If all of a sudden you're only allowed to have 24, what does that mean for the institution and that kind of thing? But maybe a bigger question is going to be this one of rev share. And you hear revenue share and the number says like 22% of Power 5, of the average Power 5 budget. And some people say, well, if the school's not bringing in revenue for the athletic department, well, there's nothing to share. But the revenue share, the way that it sounds like it's going to be defined, is that it's 22% of the average like Power 5 media money, like like media rights fees that they're bringing in. So that would mean even if your school doesn't like bring in revenue, you can still pay out, to keep up to pay out to student athletes to keep up. And that's where I don't know, that could have some impacts, but there's a lot that we still need to find out and we don't know. And so I don't know, read the article and we'll see what happens.
We will eventually link the article in the description, but in case you want to look it up before we do, the title of it is D1 Wrestling Coaches Bracing for Turbulence on Heels of NCAA Settlement. So look that up. All right, Jason Nolf, just quick news. Jason Nolf won his grappling debut. What do we think about that?
I'm not surprised. He's really good. He's been training jiu-jitsu for a while, if not full time, but Yeah, he comes down to Austin every now and then. He wrestled. He fought an Austin guy, a B team member, who that's the club he normally trains with when he's here too. So those two might have actually been familiar with each other, and good chance they trained together. So I don't take too much away from it, other than this could be an avenue for Jason Nolf moving forward. Who knows?
Yeah,
I might continue to see him on Flow, just a different.
That's right. Flow grappling, baby.
I just want to know how often he's going to do this.
Yeah. Is he committed, or he might go full MMA?
I don't know. He has expressed interest in a lot of avenues like grappling and MMA, and not committed to one fully from all the interviews and stuff I've seen either. So I'm guessing he doesn't fully know yet. Obviously, I would like to see him continue in wrestling. He's really good. He just beat Jordan Burroughs. So, but who knows? You can watch this full match on Flow Grappling.
Boom.
If you have a Flow Wrestling subscription.
You know what? While we're plugging, actually, let's just quick hit these news and then we'll plug another thing. Austin O'Connor won his MMA debut. Do we want to make any comments on that?
My only comment is he's still coaching at Illinois. He's still an assistant coach. And so I don't know how serious he's taking MMA. If he's like, hey, I've always wanted to try this. This is something I'm kind of dabbling in right now. Or if it's, I'm going to dive all in on this, but I still need a job while I'm part-time MMA. And so why not continue to coach?
That's what I feel like it is. I mean, he's
Probably
been clear for a long time that he wants to go MMA, right? I think he's pretty
Yeah, you're right.
into it. So
he's got to be into it. He's already got a nickname. What is he? The Irish Nightmare?
The Irish Nightmare.
Irish Nightmare.
sounds like a drink you could order at the bar.
It's like a Gonster. You seen these?
No,
Monster?
It's a Guinness and a Monster mixed.
Oh my
sounds like-
god.
That's an Irish
like a
Nightmare.
Sounds like a Dr. Do drink.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's Colleen been ordering? She's Mountain Dew and something.
Oh, Fire Dew?
Fire Dew, Mountain Dew and Fireball.
Okay.
Or Dew Fire.
Dew Fire.
I'm a big Milster fan. It's a Monster Energy drink and milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has to be whole.
Dr. Dew drink.
It is Dr. Do. Look him up. That's since we're plugging things. Look up Dr. Do.
Barraclough to Utah Valley. Barraclough was a great wrestler at Penn State who never cracked the lineup. Had freestyle win over NCAA finalist Tyler Berger. So he's very good, and I think that's a good addition to Utah Valley. What about you?
Yeah, and is he a 4-time Utah State champ, something like that? I think he's from Utah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I think he's from Utah. Yeah. So I think it's a great fit, great get for Adam Hall. I think, Terrell Barraclough has been training in the Penn State room. He recognizes, I think, excellence in coaching, and I don't think he would just be going to Utah Valley like just because it's close to home. I think him going there is probably evidence that he believes a lot in what Adam Hall's doing. And so I think that's all a great sign for Utah Valley. And if you guys don't know, Adam Hall, longtime assistant coach, I think he was associate head coach at NC State for years and years. But, originally he wrestled at Boise State. He's from Idaho. So he's from that Mountain West area. So for him, getting back out to Utah, I think is going to be good for that's sort of a surging part of the country, because in Utah you have Kyler Sanderson's club. He's doing good things in Utah. The level of high school wrestling in Idaho continues to grow, and so I think it's a great first sign for this Utah Valley program to get Barraclough in there, and I think he's going to be an NCAA qualifier. I think he's a guy that can win matches at NCAAs. Getting on the podium, I don't know, but he's good.
All right, those are our quick news hits. I do want to plug JD. You and Connor did a video, the following the madness at 57 kilograms at the U20 World Team Trials. Do we have that video? I clipped out the first 30 seconds, and yeah, we'll watch it right now.
Oh, what's up, dude? So we are here in Geneva, Ohio at the Spire Academy for the 2024 U20 World Team Trials and U23 National Tournament. It's gonna be amazing. I'm super excited about 57 kilograms, where we've got Luke Little sitting to the best of 3 finals, and he's gonna take on a hammer, whoever's gonna come out of this challenge tournament, because there's guys like Anthony Knox, Jax Forrest, Christian Castillo, Seth Mendoza, all in there, and a bunch of others. It's gonna be awesome, and we're gonna follow along with it all day.
And that's great because no one knows who won that bracket yet. And the only way to find out is by watching that video. So
That's right.
check it out.
Yeah, the fun thing about those videos is obviously you're joking and everybody at home is laughing because it was a good joke. But the great thing about those videos is like, you know what happened, you know the scores, maybe even watch the matches, but that behind the scenes kind of getting to see what happened is a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed it.
I watched it. It was great.
Yeah, very cool. And especially enjoyed hearing from Lilidol and Jax Forrest after that series was over. Those guys have had some crazy matches over the years, and this series was no different. Like some of the exchanges too, just even like, I don't know, just the camera that Connor's shooting with, I think puts it in a little bit clearer.
We were even looking, there was a sequence in the first match where Jax's corner was certain that he got the push out. It was Jax was up 3-0, and then they were certain that Jax got the push out on the edge. They ended up ruling that Lilidol got the push out. And from the stream camera, you couldn't quite see, but on Connor's angle, you can tell why the Bishop McCourt kids thought that Jax got the push out because it is so close. Connor was right there. So that was a huge turning point in the match because if Jax got the push out, he would have been up 4-0. Instead, Lilidol got it, so it was 3-1. Then the challenge was 3-2. So when you have Connor's angle on that, you get the behind the scenes look. You can also see why certain decisions are made and how much it impacted the course of the series. So check it out. It's a great video.
One thing we didn't mention from our ranking series talk, did y'all see that Iranian dude get thrown for 4 while celebrating? The
Yes.
time still on the clock.
I only saw it like 17 or 18 times.
I wish we could. I wish I pulled that before the show to show to the people.
That's so good. It's just incredible.
So this Iranian dude is winning by a couple points in Greco from the weekend and starts celebrating with like 4 seconds left, turns his back to his Cuban opponent, puts his arms up in the air. And so the Cuban guy, for like a split second, kind of concedes. And then he just goes, grabs the dude, and throws him for 4 and wins the match.
How much time was on the clock?
When he hit it,
Like
Yeah.
0.7 seconds, less than 1. It was
my
like, yeah, it was under a second when he hit it.
look, it's all fair game, but I will say it was a little cheap from the Cuban guy. Like,
Bro, you can't turn
So
your
what?
back on a
Yeah.
guy when there's time on the clock.
I know. I'm not blaming him, but
The people, there's a lot of Iranian fans in the comments that are mad.
Challenging his honor. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
I'm just kind of just like, you got beat. Like,
yeah.
the reason we laughed at a ghost joke is because our producer just said if he dies in our ears. For the fans at home wondering why we were just laughing at nothing. But
I feel like celebrating with like 3 seconds to go is kind of like okay, because they kind of did like concede for like half a second. It wasn't like they were wrestling and all of a sudden like he just like turned around and was like partying on him. It was kind of just like him putting his hands up to his fans. I don't know.
If he would have,
It is fair. It's all fair in games, but
if he would have kept facing him, I don't think that he would have given up any points because I don't.
Correct.
Think Cuban would have. So, dude, he let down. He had a mental lapse, and instead of him winning, we all get to celebrate at his expense. So we get this great video clip. It's hilarious.
it was
all right, how much time do we have left in the show?
not much time.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
I got a question because I actually don't know the answer to this, and I'm hoping one of you guys do. When and where are the U.S. qualifying for the non-Olympic weights? Like when is
So-
Final X for non-Olympic weights?
Well, I took this question as like, how do you qualify for those? As in like countries, but it's a normal world championship, so you don't have to qualify to it. Everybody,
Just if you
can
send
go.
people to Pan Am's, right? Pan Am Championships, if you send
yeah, or the
roster of guys.
previous year's world championships. So it's not like the Olympics where brackets are limited in size. So that's not a worry for Team USA. The World Team Trials have not been announced, a date or location as of yet. Hopefully we will get that answer soon. I got to think we will probably before too long.
In 21, they were in September. I'm hearing that's kind of the time frame they're shooting for as well, but nothing in the
The
books.
trials in September? Or the World Championships?
World Championships are October.
October.
That is set. Albania.
Trials
Okay.
mid-September.
That would be a short turnaround.
Yeah,
Do they want to let guys who compete in the Olympics try to?
I don't think they're allowed.
You're not allowed.
Okay.
Illegal.
Illegal.
Yeah, you want to go to jail? Be my guest.
Last question. Out of all the unseeded wrestlers at the Olympics, who is the biggest landmine?
Ooh.
Spencer Lee,
Ooh.
Aaron Brooks.
Yeah. I think so. If you're looking at Americans, probably Spencer Lee. If you're looking at non-Americans, I think Jamalov.
Not Cotty.
Yeah.
I part of me wants to say Cotty just because he has tech dake.
Yeah. Maybe.
Scary.
Maybe. Do we want to do quick Monday Blues before we leave?
Oh yeah, Monday Blues.
We don't want to let it die.
All right. No. I can't let it die. I can't let it die. Quick, my Monday Blue. I am bummed. You look at these brackets, and we don't get all the top matches that we want to see. Like, there's some really good matches I want to see that are just inevitably going to not happen because that's how brackets work. And also because these guys don't wrestle as much as we as Strictly fans would like them to all compete. So that's my Monday Blue.
I'm not that blue today, but I think my Monday Blue is that the ranking series is over and we don't get any more international wrestling until the Olympics. So it's like, I don't know, a couple months. Kind of blue. Yeah, my
Monday Blue was gonna be that as well. So that kind of I'm blue that you stole my Monday Blue.
Well,
I'm a little Monday Blue because Yazdani looks so good. I mean, I'm a big fan of Yazdani as a wrestler, but not a fan of him beating American wrestlers. And so, part of you is like, maybe he won't be himself after this shoulder surgery, and he looks like he's gonna be himself, and maybe more. So,
well, you want Aaron Brooks to beat a hobbled Yazdani. I want Aaron Brooks to be a 100% healthy Yazdani.
You're not noble because you want our guys to have the hardest path and win.
Speak for yourself, unnobleman.
All right. My Monday Blue, we went to Typhoon, Texas over the weekend.
Okay.
And I'm
pretty Typhoon in Texas.
Typhoon, Texas.
This is a
It's a water park in Round Rock.
Not a Thai restaurant.
I'm pretty fair. I got sunburned on my back. So that's one part of the blue. But the other part of the blue is I had to wear a shirt the second half of the day, like
Shirt in the pool, man.
like a child, and that, made me a little self-conscious. But it was good because otherwise I'd been really hurting. So that's my Monday Blue.
Well, we went over time, 2 minutes. It's 11:32. That's all we have time for today. We will see you all again.
Give us a oh.
I'm not doing it. I'm not.
Just do it.
I'm not doing it.
A little bit.
Okay. Sorry, that's stolen valor. That's Christian's thing. I let him have his thing. We will be back doing our thing on Thursday. Still no Christian, so it'll be this crew again. Maybe we'll do another guest. We'll see. Nothing on the books yet, but you'll have to tune in and find out. See you then.